I got a couple of questions about engaging with the material to let go of past stuff, things that that we're dragging with us in life. It's hard to let go of the stuff. How do we do that? Okay, so that's what this video is going to be about. I typically don't engage with this part of the material. I tend to just look for the template and other things going on. However, I know the path. I know the healing path. That's how I know the template. I've taken the path. But I tend to, I don't know, it's you wait for people to ask you something. You don't just throw stuff out there. I have quite a bit. My name is Dan Paulson. Welcome to the video. First of all, let's take a look at, there was a couple of comments that I got that I want to look at right here. One of them came from Chris Alt. Hi, Dan. I'm a Myers-Briggs INTJ. Okay, I'm an INFP, so this means two introverted and N's. We've got sensitive people that are introverts. Looking for the way to rewrite my subconscious from negative jail to positive freedom to get on with my life without sabotaging my next month. Any thoughts or direction? Okay. And then one from Ozobiv. Let's see. I've been listening to your videos off and on, but have definitely not watched your whole collection. Yeah, there is too much there. I've been using this really as a learning platform. I don't have anybody to talk to. A lot of what I'm doing in my videos, they're all put out as teaching videos, but they're as I'm learning as I go. So you would see, if you went on to the earliest ones to here, you're going to see an advancement. That's how I'm learning this. I can't just sit at home and do nothing. This is how the more recent videos are the better ones. So, okay, that being said, how do you let go of your past experiences that are stuck deep? Okay, there we go. Also, how do you know when you have let go? Forgive me. Yeah, that's fine. You can address it. Yeah, just those two. That other one is a separate topic right there. So, okay. First thing, I want to create a mind state. The image is this. Conjure up from your own memories some old castle building, some ancient temple, a monastery, something that's hidden far, far away, and nobody gets access to it. It's a very secret place. However, you and me and a handful of other people have been hand-selected. This sounds like a Harry Potter story, doesn't it? Coming up. Okay, maybe I'm pulling from there a little bit. We've been invited to go there. We get to go because we were told there's something about you that's different. You get to find out something. This needs to be understood. So we go there, and the castle door, or the big door as we get there, there's a sign overhead for the entrance, and it says narrow gate. And it opens and we enter in. We go into a place where there's it's kind of like a lecture hall. It's a big lecture stage down there. And up in the, like an auditorium or something like that, except there's only about 20 or 30 seats. They're plush and comfortable. It's dark up there. It's very luxurious. We're told to sit down and get ready for the lecture. So we sit down and we get ready, and we're whispering and murmuring, and the lights come on the stage. And we see a group of people down there, and we instantly recognize them. We see Marduk, Lao Tzu, the Buddha, Jesus, Moses. We see Indian gurus from antiquity. We see a group of people from all over the place that we look at and go, wow. And they're all talking amongst themselves like nothing's going on. So we understand then something different is happening. All right, now, as they begin to talk, we hear one voice. And the voice says that there is a place that we came from and a place that we want to return to, and that not many people can find that. That it entails going through your life experiences and through your memories until you can become free of them, and then you will live life from the place we came from. And they all teach that same thing, but they tell us that they can't teach it in the same way because people are too different and people aren't going to understand it. But people in different places need a way to hold on to something that is different from other people. So they get their own package. But it's the same thing in different verbiage. It's difficult to see. Somebody asks them, Jesus, Buddha, I don't think so. Are you sure? Can you give me an example of that, please? Well, Lao Tzu says, I'll take care of that for you. So, yeah, he's got it covered too. So what happens is that the Buddha says, we live through karma, which is cause and effect, and that we seek emptiness. And you go, yep, okay, that's not Jesus. He doesn't teach that. And then Jesus steps in and says, yeah, I do. I had to say it differently. It's in a different genre. What I said was, the measure you mete into others will be likewise meted unto you, which is cause and effect. And that the poor in spirit are the ones that are blessed. That's because they sought emptiness. You have to understand how to sort it out. There's one truth that we're all representing here. And you have to turn inward to find that one. The unity is looking inward. Looking outward are all the roads outward that lead to destruction. Okay, got that visual? Let's modernize what we have going on. All right, the reason I did that is it's very important for people to know where I'm coming from. There is one thing, and we need to not be grabbing onto just one thing and calling it true. However, I understand that most people have only studied one thing, so it's kind of hard to encompass all that all. So just let me be your guide on that right there. I've had a lot of time, and I've spent my life just studying every damn thing I could get my hands on. So, what I'm going to do is, so from time to time, I will be trying to describe something and how the masters are teaching it. And at various times, the Buddha or Lao Tzu or Jesus might say it in such a way that I find it's easier to understand. So I will pull back and forth between different sources. So that's important to know. If I'm saying something from Jesus and then I say something from Buddha, what I'm doing is talking from that source that they're both coming from. Not the Buddhism, not the Christianity, but the interpreted meaning, interactive self-turning meaning of the interpretation of the verse. When that happens, they all become the same. If you don't do that and you look outward, they all look away from each other. You turn inward, you find the common place. That's where we go, the common place. That's how we find out what to do. You only need to use one of them, but you have to know how to interpret it properly. I would never know how to interpret it properly if I didn't learn a bunch of them. And that would make sense to anybody who you recognize patterns. You read one thing, you don't see patterns between material if you only read one. You start reading a bunch of them and you go, wait a minute, there are patterns between this and this and this. So it's just a matter of taking the time to do it. Okay, I wanted to say that so that people would just kind of, as I'm bringing things on board, I don't want you to be put off by anything. Oh, yeah, I'm talking about Jesus here. I don't know about that Buddha stuff. To me, it's all okay. All right, they're all buddies. All right. Now, the healing question is actually a lot more complex than that because it depends on a number of factors. What do you have to heal? What are you hanging on to? What is the depth of it? Is it shame or is it anger? Is it something that you did or is it something that somebody else did? So there's different mechanisms. What you're looking for is mental ease and whatever it takes to achieve that mental ease. You have to look at what is in the way of it. So if you're having something that continually re-experiences, we got to find the source of that. Okay, first, before we go there, though, there's something that I learned gradually. It was such a fumble for me to get through this stuff because I didn't understand that there's a sequential process to go through it. So it was a mess, and it's still I still don't have it collated quite right in my head. But I now see that there is things that if I understood them to begin with, like how to engage with the higher awareness, that would have saved me so much time. I do that accidentally. I've done it off and on. At some point, I'm reading the material and I go, you know what? That's exactly what we're doing. When the consciousness is staying with God, when Abraham stays with God when it's time to destroy Sodom, that's the consciousness staying engaged with the higher awareness. So I'm learning this stuff now as I go along and go, okay, this should be more helpful. It shouldn't be as hard or as long as it was for me. Again, it depends on your life. I was in a place where I am not today. I could not continue to make changes and stay where I was. All right. Life changes. You go where you fit. So if you have to make that many changes, it's going to take a while, and it's, yeah. That's why I don't like teaching that stuff. It's like, it's your path. What do you want to do? Do you want to divorce and move on? Yeah. Nope. Those are personal. These are really things that we have to work out for ourselves. Alrighty. The higher awareness. How do we look at that? This is crucial. we get this established really strong. Now, I talked about it before, but I want to make another point about this. I really haven't done this before. I'm still kind of sneaking up on this. I don't want to be fumbling through this and say wrong things. Okay, the higher awareness we all know from our morning time wake up. Everybody has that 3-4 in the morning. I wake up, toss and turn, and my mind is frazzled over the things that I can't resolve or that I have worried or in the past or now or tomorrow or whatever it is. We got this turmoil going on. And every once in a while, you should recognize, this is the way it was for me. I don't know if it's this way for everybody, but for me, I would recognize every once in a while this kind of a third voice coming in that was just a part of me. And I never thought it was a third voice. I just thought it was a part of my mind up here trying to be logical. That every once in a while says, hey man, you got to let it go. You got to sleep. There's nothing you can do tonight. However, there's something that you can pay attention to right there, that at the moment that you're doing that, it's not simply a logical thing, because you can tell for one reason. If you listen to this voice and experience while this voice is talking, you don't feel those emotions. They suddenly shift away. Then you shift back into emotions. We're actually going back and forth between different mind states. When you listen to that voice, you're like, yeah, okay, you're right. I do. Okay, I'm going to do that, because you're listening to that voice. However, the memories are like, yeah, we're still here. Guess what's happening tomorrow, bozo? Guess what you're facing? Guess what you can't do? Guess what? We slip right back into the memories are in charge of the conscious activity. And every once in a while, we try to move out of that. Now, so what we're doing here is learning something. Number one, I want to know something. I think about this from time to time. Now I want to talk about Eckhart Tolle's for a second, because his story was that he was thinking at night, one night in bed, he was going through that whole, what's life about? What am I here for? All that kind of stuff. How can I stand to live with myself? And I'm paraphrasing. He's got videos up on it. You can find it. But he said he became aware of the fact that he began thinking, who are these two people in here? Who am I talking to? There's somebody in here who is it that can't live with myself? Well, who is myself that I can't live with? He got wrapped up in this thinking that it's like something else is in here. For me, it wasn't quite like that, but it was like the recognition that something else is here. However, what I realized too is that I'm sitting here consciously, not knowing that, not paying attention to that, and just experiencing my pain. When it moves in, what motivates it? Where does it get the thinking that it needs to come and talk to me? Is it conscious? What the hell is it that it comes and introduces itself into my head quietly saying, hey, you gotta let it go. Meanwhile, and then it slips away. I don't know that it's there. What is that? That's what we need to connect with right there. That's what we need to learn. That's our source. That's where we come from, and that's where we want to live from. What happens is we're what is this? Is this the universe having life through physical experience? What do I have? It's just random. What are you? You're an egg from wherever you came from on the planet. Seriously. And it could have been from anywhere else. You could have been from, a different country, a different nationality, anything like that. We show up here at a place in a life, and we have a physical experience. When we're young, we do not know we are living from here. Why? We don't have the conscious capacity to understand it. We might be living from there, but there's no consciousness to engage with it. Upon editing, I want to make sure to straighten out that term. There are people who think that if something is alive, that it's conscious. What I'm talking about here is self-awareness. When we're little kids, we might cry. We're alive. We have pain. We have all those experiences, but we don't remember them. We don't have the brain capacity to do anything more than just react and respond. When we get older and develop a thinking capacity and we become a self-awareness, and I feel and I want, that's what I'm talking about right there. So there it is. A blank place. We start living life and we begin to live through the memories. We need those memories up here in order for us to understand the physical world. So we live through the physical experience completely blind to the fact that we're just gathering up life experiences. And where do you come from and what has happened? All manner of things. We collect those in our memory. It's important to remember bad things long ago. Now we remember everything that we probably should let go of. We're kind of stuck somehow. But what happens when you get called is you start now realizing that the higher awareness is returning. If you go through the stories, you see at some point early on, God kind of disappears and then comes back when it's time to start a healing process. If you read through the stories, you'll see that. God disappeared after Cain and Abel, reappeared when it's time for the flood. Most people live at chapter 6 in that story. All right, we're going for chapter 7, time to flood. Does that make sense? This is all metaphoric. And it's on a template that is our human life. Okay, but the thing here is that in order to heal, what we have to do, I went through a lot of really struggles when I was admitting things, doing things. I began to reason at some point early on that I needed to unload stuff that I didn't want to talk about. I found a friend that I really trusted, and I unloaded those things that were like, these are my deepest, darkest secrets. And I think when I get done, you're going to hate me and call me a freak. And the person said, what? That's it. And you're forgiven. The walls that we built up are astounding. It depends on what they are, though. Do you have to make amends or not? Okay, I'm slipping into the healing. What we need to do actually is keep talking about the higher awareness, because this is where, if you get there, you don't have to wait till you're asleep or see that. This is just a way to observe it. You're like, yeah, okay, I see that. Now in your conscious state, you can get to that place. Okay, so the consciousness has been the filtration system that between our life experience to our stored memories that creates the mode in our eye that we continue to live through. Does that make sense? I'm going to unwrap a bunch of stuff right here. It might just sound bonkers. I hope not. I want to read something from the Buddha. This is from the Dhammapada, another thing you should have on your shelf. Okay, from the Dhammapada, from the Mueller, I'll just read a few of these. Chapter 3 is called Thought. This is thought. As a fletcher makes his arrow straight, a wise man makes straight his trembling and unsteady thought, which is difficult to guard, difficult to hold back. As a fish taken from his watery home and thrown on dry ground, our thought trembles all over in order to escape the dominion of Mara, the tempter. That's life experiences, the things that pull us off course, Mara. It is good to tame the mind, which is difficult to hold in, and flighty, rushing wherever it listeth. A tamed mind brings happiness. What we're doing is taming the mind. What we're doing is pulling away from the memories and working to live from this other place we can get to. But we don't practice it. We habituate. Now here's something else. Look at the experience. It started out having... It probably grew over time. It started out smaller and left in place. It gets bigger and bigger. We think about it. We ponder it. It gets larger. That's something we're not supposed to do, but we don't know that. I mean, I know that now, but it's like, oh, I wish I knew that long ago before I built these monsters up. Oh my gosh. I've been an asshole. Yeah, well, you know what? Better late than never. Okay, let's just move on. The higher awareness, I guess, then, okay, so what we do is when you're in your conscious state is just practice getting there. I do it from like maybe sometimes I might pretend like I'm looking at planet Earth from way out in space. We have visual images of that from, it's easy to find pictures of that. We have that in our memory already from television and all the things that are going on with space exploration. We can visualize planet Earth from out here without having to pretend. We have images in our head already. Pull those up, use them, look down there, look at Earth, look at civilization, look at what's going on from up here. This is where the higher awareness lives, except we don't go there consciously. We emerge down there in the physical world as a limited kind of a being. And then what we want to do is understand those limitations to let them go. That's where that healing, letting go of the pulling out the weeds of the garden, destroying the demons, whatever, all that kind of stuff are metaphoric ideas for these things that we need to let go of, that are hurting us. But we know we came from a certain place. And I think sometimes it's helpful to just continue to look at yourself from out here. Look at life, look at people. Begin to look at other things. Don't just look at yourself. Right now out here, you should, if you're doing it right, you shouldn't feel connected to your emotions. You should be able to see yourself from a distance without you're viewing yourself from outside instead of feeling and living through the emotions that are stored there. The conscious is going to have those experiences, but you have to be aware of it enough to go, okay, I'm slipped back down into here. I got to pull back out. I'm caught up in it again. Now let me grab them and show you. These are home projects. These are, what is that? It's a little cairn. It's a nice one, huh? How cool is that? It's all, oops, I should keep it by my head, huh? That's what focus is. It's all glued together. I've got a few of them here. They actually, I picked nice rocks and glued them together, put some little felt feet on them. They actually became suitable as home decor, just as things that I would set up around that were meaningless to anybody else, but were always constant reminders to me as I viewed it, as I made them. I put a purpose of them. I said, this is, when I see this, it's going to remind me to let go and to live to shift to the higher awareness. When I build this one, it's to help me to shift, to remember. They're just memory aids. And then I would put them around the house, and as you walk around and spot them, it's like, oh, that's a cool little cairn there. What does that mean? The way. Yeah, it's the way. What is the way? It's a reminder for me to go, oh yeah, go to the higher awareness. You can use jewelry or other things like that, maybe in, something, the Z beads or something that you look in a mirror and go, oh yeah, there's the reminder. There's always, maybe something. I'm not a jewelry person, so stuff like this would work. But the thing is that we get ourselves caught into where it's just difficult to control the mind. It's difficult to control the mind. We need to stop and become self-aware and go, you know what? I'm habituating this funk when I need to be habituating the escape from it. These are the memories. This is the higher awareness. This is where I come from. This is how I emerge. Now, to continue to emerge, to continue to go from, I don't know, what is that, the physical primordial soup or something, to rise to something spiritual, you got to let go of the stuff that created you, that you come from. If you can't let go of that stuff, if you can't let that ought go, that life is not going to be okay. And that's the way I read this stuff. So really, this doesn't quite address the memories yet. We're still getting to the point that this higher awareness is crucial, because when you look at the memories and you live and you develop your awareness, your consciousness, enough out here, you begin to look at that and you begin to see your issues as something that are more petty. It becomes more easy to say, wow, I'm making these the most important thing in my life, when if I live from here until this is more important, then I go, okay, that's no longer as important. But we have to habituate that activity. Now, there's a very important part of this. You don't constantly live through the higher awareness. What you're doing here is just living life. Whatever happens, if you're happy, don't worry about it. When you shift to the higher awareness is when you catch yourself in the, I'm doing that, I'm getting caught up in it, here it is. That's when you go, okay, stop. This is the point where I need to be aware that I'm slipping into that and shift to the higher awareness to look at it and see it and stop slipping into it. It doesn't rectify it. It means that you're not building it and acting on it yet. This is the seed that's coming up. This is what's planted in the garden. What you're doing is stopping it from manifesting, but you still have to rectify it because it's going to keep coming out again and again. We will live through our bundle of memories when we're not paying attention. What's that look like? And you know what? That's not exactly true. What we live through is the emotional state, the general emotional state of the bundle of our memories. Yeah, that's it. We can't change the memories. It's the emotion that drives our, how do you live life? On how you feel. Life is emotional. And then what we're doing also, like when the Sodom and Gomorrah story, if you go read that, you will see that, skip that lineage part where Abraham starts talking to God and asking him about the righteous and the 40 and the 50. Just go from where Abraham stayed with God and then the angels appeared down below and that stuff starts happening. There's a number of things that are happening in there that we need to pay attention to. When we put ourselves in the story, I am that, I am. You are that, you are. We are that, we are. When we put ourselves into the story, my consciousness is Abraham. God is that higher awareness. Sodom is that thing that I can't let go of. That's the city that needs to be destroyed. Lot is the part of me that operated that's not okay. The men from the city represents the temptations. Oh, you want to fix this, huh? Let's see. The Lot giving up his virgin daughters, offering them up is how do we unwrap that one? Okay, so this represents the idea that We want to clear out the city, but something is coming to prevent that from happening. Lot offers up a different option, but the angels step in and say, nope, that's not going to happen. So Lot offering up his daughters represents, I'm going to offer up myself for further corruption. But it didn't happen. What that would be like, okay, if you sequence back up, this is going to get maybe too thick for this right here, right now, but if you sequence back up, it's already been occurring. And the Abram and Sarai, and then the Abraham and Sarah before it even gets down to the Sodom story. That there's a pattern that is happening in here that it's going to be very difficult to see until you look at it long enough. The pattern here starts off with Abram, for example, giving up his wife Sarai to Pharaoh and she was corrupted, and then they got sheep and or animals and slaves as a result. Metaphorically, that represents our inner self was given up and we got corrupted. That's the beginnings of life. That's how it starts. And what happened? God wasn't there, was he? Yeah, that's how it's sequencing right there. God sets you up, gets you going, then leaves, and you go off and experience life. You get corrupted. Down here, the offer of corruption was there, but it was stopped. So it was like we're advancing along. Nope. The temptation has been aborted. The city gets destroyed. It's going to happen anyway. You don't get to win. So when you unwrap them, that's how it works like that. But what happened in there is that during the destruction, we're looking at the city. We're looking at the memory. We're looking at, I did this, I did that, I feel this, I feel that. I believe this, I believe that. We're looking at, that's Sodom right there. We're doing it while the consciousness is staying with God. So that means we're staying engaged with the higher awareness while we're looking at the memories. So we're not just living through the memories and going, oh, we're looking at it from, yeah, that hurts, doesn't it? Sure the hell it does. Yeah, oh my God, yeah, but I can see it. We're going to look at it anyway. There's a part of you that says, doesn't feel good. It's going to make you cry. It's going to make you feel this. Do it anyway. Use the higher awareness to allow the consciousness to start becoming familiar with the pain. I never think about these things. I got to be careful what I'm doing here. I'm not a mental health professional. I'm just reading the material. Okay? Don't do what I say if it's going to cause you to have incredible pain. If you need help, get help. Yeah, I say this like it's, you know what, I did some things that were very difficult to do. I came close to doing things that I'm glad I didn't do. It's not an easy path. Be careful. The more familiar we become with pain, the more it becomes less of a monster when we know what it is. Boy, that's all metaphorical stuff. It depends on what you have going on. So that's where the issue comes in next then. And there's a couple of gotchas. You cannot, a physician cannot heal their own family, and a prophet cannot teach their own village, or something like that, a Jesus thing. When we're going through this growth process, you're going to be very isolated. You're going to be excited and turning to people around and trying to figure things out, and they're going to be like, man, I don't like talking about that stuff. Leave me alone. If they have issues as well. It can be very difficult to find people that are willing to allow you to open up. Honestly, what this is, kind of, if you look at it, if you went to a psychologist to work through an issue until it was no longer an issue, that's it. Basically, what we have is a memory and the way we feel emotionally about it. And this should answer both questions. How do we know that if it's resolved? If it's resolved, go look at the memory. How does it feel? If you're okay with it, it's resolved. If you're like, man, I let it go. I'm doing my best. I forgive. I do whatever. I still don't feel okay about it, but then it's not forgiven. The feeling happens this way. A perception. I always teach that you don't forgive people. That's hard. If somebody did something that hurts you and you say, I need to let them off the hook, so I'm going to forgive them. I think very few people can do that, actually. You would say to yourself, I forgive them because it's the right thing to do. And you would say that academically, but in your head there would still be like, oh, I don't want to see them again. I don't like them. I don't trust them. You know, the forgiveness hasn't happened. There's still a problem. Now, you may not ever like the person and want to be friends with them, but you can see that there's still this turmoil in the mind, and as long as it resides there, it lives in a collective. You just gave life to something that's going to seek That right there. We don't know that. We don't. We just blindly run along collecting up every rusty can along the road of life, broken bottle, and yeah, throw it in the back and go see where it takes us. But we don't know that. You see how I'm kind of all over with this. The higher awareness is going to help us engage with the memories, but the memories have to be to the point where if the forgiveness happens it this way, I feel this way about it, this memory. If I can change the way I feel about the feeling of the memory is where the emotion comes from. That's the seed right there. The event and how you feel about it. You can't change the event. The only way to heal is to change the way you feel about it. So you have to be okay with what you're not okay with at this point. That's the only way to heal. You got to find a way to be okay with something that you're not okay with. That takes looking at it, understanding life, figuring out what's going on, making amends, whatever it is for you that has to work. Making amends might mean going up to somebody and saying, I'm sorry this happened, and they might turn around and say, yeah, get out. I never want to see you again. You still got to do your job. You have to humbly say, okay, I'm sorry. I appreciate that. And then take your humble ass out the door. There are times you're not going to get forgiveness from other people, but you have to learn how to forgive yourself if you want to be free of the emotion. This sucks because people that do bad things that don't give a shit and don't have any bad feelings about it, guess what? Their karma is exactly what they attract emotionally. I feel fine. I don't care what I did to them. Psh, doesn't bother me. Guess what happens to them? Nothing. They feel fine. We hurt ourselves by not knowing that as we're hooked into our emotions that that's what's really driving our life. So letting go of the things entails changing the way you view it. If it doesn't feel okay, you have to make it feel okay. How big is it? Is it one thing? Is it a bunch of stuff? We usually have a bunch of stuff. The flood doesn't work, where you go flood out the whole thing and starts fresh again. We actually have to go back again and again and again, typically. Maybe not. If there's one person there said something about I got something that I can't let go of, maybe there's only one thing. So whatever that thing is, you have to make sure that whatever the issue is that is not comfortable is resolved. There's something that is a disconnect between you and another life. It'll involve other life somewhere. You know what? I'm going to add something in here that I thought of as an afterthought. I think about this from time to time, but I never had to do this. Okay, so I'm uncertain about some things. For example, if this hasn't happened, but if I was in a loving relationship with my wife and we're happy in kids, years, something, whatever, and one day a business trip, something like that, for whatever reason, in a moment of impropriety, I did something wrong and I feel incredible regret. I'm super angry at myself. I'm so disappointed. I really just did a stupid thing, but my wife is home and loving and happy. Do I unload myself and destroy her? Is it possible to make amends? Sometimes, I don't know. There's things that I have never had to face that I would never be able to speak upon. I'm a 10-year veteran, but I never had to shoot anyone. I don't have to live with that. There's things I don't have to live with that I wouldn't know how to address, honestly. And I hope that they're not that difficult. It would take more professional help. I'm some dude reading this material. That's why I kind of want to stay out of this arena. It's like I'm not a self-help person, and looking at this stuff can be very difficult. But what I'm doing is what they did in antiquity. They didn't go to the shrink. Nope. You got to figure it out here. Let's sit down and talk. This is what we got. Here, let's read the material and heal. Let's do this together. So that's what they were doing. But we've lost that. We're so busy, and that material was so big and so thick. Okay, so right now that's it. Practice, 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 getting to that higher awareness. From here, you know it because you don't feel the pain. Now, we live there naturally a lot throughout the day if you're not always in a funk, if you're slipping in and out of, oh, this is fun, I had a lot of, yeah, you're living from the higher awareness right there. You don't have a problem. All the things that you're doing and the memories and all of that are joy. You don't stop and go, what's wrong? You just go live life. That's what you're looking for. What you got to do is when you catch yourself going, oh, I feel this, I feel that, I'm depressed, I hate, I hurt, I da 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 da. Those are the things right there. And you have to resolve that stuff and let it go. But you have to also have to understand that when we wake up and get to where we need to go, we're living from the higher awareness. But until then, we're living through the bundle of memories that we have accumulated and the emotional state that we hold them in. The emotional state is what drives us. We have to change the emotional state. That forgiveness to the other person happens when I go, I don't give it. It doesn't hurt me anymore. If it continues to hurt me, I can't forgive that person. If it's not hurt anymore, the forgiveness happens automatically. It's not about forgiving the other person. It's about changing this. You're pulling the mote out of your eye. We're living through these experiences in the way that we put them in. Getting them out is difficult because it's just so... we're scared of it. We don't like to face it. We need to put ourselves in other positions. Do drills like this. Say to yourself, this is what I have to talk about, and I'm very ashamed about it. I wouldn't know what to say. Now pretend like you don't tell anybody, but someone else comes up to you and says the exact same thing. Hey man, can I talk to you about something? I got to unload something. This is what happened. This is what I did. How would you feel about it? Now understand this. If you can get outside of your own head, outside of your own wall of fear, that's what the other person's going to be like. We get stuck inside of our fear and go, I can't get out of this. We're our own limitation. You have to get out of it. But at the same time, you have to be in the right group. I worked for a long time at this place where there was two of us traveling together, hours and hours and hours. Over the years, we talked, we became friends, we became enemies, stuff happened. There were two different times in that time frame for me where I was discussing my past. We're all talking about where we came from and things like that and how life came about. And I'd mentioned that I'd gotten molested and how I had to resolve that. And I mean, probably two different occasions over like a 10-year time frame. I remember this blow up at the end where one of the guys that was really like, he was very not like this. And I was having trouble with him because of videos that he would play out loud that were very like hurtful videos in the office environment, and the boss didn't care. So this conflict came up and I couldn't shut it off. It was like, oh my God, this is building. And it blew up into an argument where he yelled out, yeah, you got screwed in the, how do I put this? You got screwed in the rear and you liked it. That's why you got to tell everybody about it. I cannot tell you how bad that hurt my feelings. You're going to run into stuff like that. You got to be careful. And I never told him. So it's a rumor mill. Yeah. At some point you're like, what a dumbass. We're trying to figure out life. You're trying to grow. You don't have anybody. This is what happens. Yeah. I've been through that. On the flip side, I've been up in the mountains with people that are small groups of people, and it's very intense, and we're kind of like all kind of similar people in many ways. Kind of people out there adventuring, looking, exploring. And we all come from certain places, and it seemed like invariably in these big hikes, I'm helping and, showing people certain things. And just talking about life. And I can remember sometimes, I don't remember what I said, but just talking about my life and childhood, what things come about and what has to happen in order to heal and that sort of thing. And on two different occasions over years, I had people approach me later and say, hey, thanks for the climb, Dan. It was great meeting you and climbing with you and all that stuff. And I don't know how you knew to say what you said today, but you said exactly what I needed to hear. And you're like, I had no idea. All I'm doing is talking about my life. And you realize at some point, you're just trying to figure out a way, and you're being open about it, and people need to hear it. That's really the truth of it. It makes you realize how much we're all the same. But there are people who recognize it and want to heal from it, while there are other people who deny it and continue to hurt from it. We're emerging from there. Hanging on to it keeps you there. That should be a motivator to let it go. I don't mind saying it now because it's like, well, yeah, okay, it happens. And who says things like that? The ones that are what's in their garden. Yeah, you know it exactly. At some point, you got to pull back and go, God, I see what's going on. I come from this mess, but I'm not this mess. How do I resolve what's there so I can free myself from it? You just got to go after the impediments and live from this higher awareness. There's people that say, man, I got instantly I just did this meditation and opened my third eye chakra. They might have not been living from the higher awareness, but just living day to day and don't have a bunch of stuff. And suddenly, boom, oh, I'm living from the higher awareness. So they made that leap. And to be honest, if you were to look at yourself living from the higher awareness, you are detached. You are not looking at things, judging, hooking up. You're not caught up in the sea of humanity. You're sitting back observing it from a distance, not emotionally caught up in it. You can still be just having fun in life. And you may not be concentrating on looking at things from up here. You might just be having fun with your buddies or whatever. Just having fun doing whatever you do. That's all you need to do right there. There is no reason to, I guess the higher awareness thing there is maybe not the right term, because we're living through our conscious experience and our physical experience at that time. But it's a wonderful thing, so we don't want to interrupt it. We only interrupt the experiences that are not okay, and then use the higher awareness to assist us in resolving the problems that we've accumulated along the way. I don't think people really just go meditate on a chakra and suddenly, it doesn't work that way. If it does, that's a rabbit hole to explore, but not to live in. Back to this though. Yeah. Higher awareness. That is where we come from. Our consciousness has to sit there and go, let me shift. Yeah. These things are there. Okay. Here's another one though. You can't dry off if you're standing in the rain. What if you're getting beat every day and you're like, I don't know how to deal with this? Well, don't engage the higher awareness to figure out how to deal with being beat every day. You got to get out of there. There's situations that you're in. If the problem that you have that you're in, that you're having a trouble escaping from, is included in the environment that you're in, you're going to have to leave the environment. You don't belong there. If you want to leave, you got to leave. That's going to be so difficult. It's easy to say. What if you're telling that to some mom with a couple of kids who is dependent upon this for feeding the kids? Yeah. How easy it is to say something that you can do that they can't. It's not a one-size-fits-all. It's so hard. It's so personal. We have to find our way, and we have to understand and recognize that we're all in the same boat. Find people that are like you that you can talk with. I would imagine a group of people that got together that would know this kind of stuff. Maybe that's what secret societies do. I don't know. I've never been a part of one. It's like, you know what? I got an issue. You keep talking about things over and over again with the person you're with. They get tired of it. It's like, you know what? Something else is bothering me. Something else. I'm doing this. I can't think that, there's a point where I wanted to continue to go until I was not acting out anymore. I'm still quick to lash out and do things like that. I have certain habits that are just so drilled in. It's hard to not have them react automatically. Some of them I let go. If somebody calls me stupid, I don't mind calling them stupid back. Yeah. The measure you meet, asshole. All right. That doesn't mean that that you become passive and that if you're super passive that nothing will happen to you. That's not how it works. What it means is that what you hold up here is what continues to be your life. Outside, this is what controls your life up here. The manner in which the memories are stored in their emotional state in an accumulation. Sorting through that can be difficult, and some people might just be able to go, you know what? That's just a pile of memories. I'm going to let that go. But does it work? It depends on the personality. If you feel a connection to it still, you know what? Think of the memory. I don't care. Yeah, no big deal. You're good. Think of it again. I don't want to talk about it. It's not okay. I feel shame. It's not okay. I feel embarrassment. It's not okay. And if you can look at the memory in your mind, pull it up and see. When you pull it up to view it, you're going to also feel it. Both are going to happen. The way you feel it is the nature of it. Change the way it feels until it doesn't feel that way, and then it stops being what it is, knowing that our life experience and our own mental judgment is what created it that way, and to extract ourselves from it may entail working with somebody else. It might be somebody, when I had to forgive who molested me, they were long dead. It's like there's a point where you have to go, you know what? What happened? You are one of millions and billions. You live in your head, so you think you're special, but you're like everybody else, and nobody else wants to know that because they're all doing the same thing. We don't realize that we're going through these same struggles and having these same things. All right, so I need to talk through a couple of various phenomena because I know I'm bouncing around here and I'm probably still not very clear. I'm going to read something from the Bible. This is from James, the book of James in the New Testament, a brother of Jesus apparently, and a verse 16 that says, chapter 5, verse 16, confess your faults one to another and pray for one another that you may be healed. The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. Okay, so when we interpret that, righteousness is the purity. What we need to do is talk back and forth and to confess our faults one to another in that book. That's probably why the Catholics do confessional. It would work actually you're not accumulating this stuff. Good idea. It's done in a religious context, though, that keeps people close to knowing what, you can tell they know what they're doing. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. They're very sneaky, but you can see what they're doing. Anyway, okay, so the deal is this. Honestly, the problems that we have, they can be of a different nature. Sometimes they have problems and they have no difficulty talking about them because they're very angry about them and they don't mind building them. It's just this, I hated this, and woe me, woe that, I that. There's people that have no trouble with doing that. Those are problems. But there's also issues where people have things that are unresolved that they will trap them away. This is shame. This is pain. I don't want anybody to know this about me. So there's differences in what we're holding that are problems. Some things are going to have to be let go of in different ways. And sometimes, again, are you the victim or the perpetrator? Do you have to talk to somebody or do you have to do something else? The resolution is this memory here. What do you have to do to take care of that memory? Look at it in your own mind. It has to be something that works for you. There's no possible way to listen to anybody else and have it taken care of. Okay, I don't know if that's helpful. Oh, yeah. Okay, so the higher awareness, you shift to it to help look at. From there, you're detached. What you want to do is be able to you want the emotions and the higher awareness to be able to cohabitate in the emotion and in the consciousness, which means you might be looking at something you don't want to look at. You keep turning away from it. Only this time, you don't do that. You're with somebody that you're talking with and you trust, and you go through it. You allow the emotions to emerge and you're feeling it. You're feeling it. You are absolutely feeling the emotions. But at the same time, in your mind, is the higher awareness going, that's right. That's exactly right. Keep doing that. You're doing the right thing. Let it come out. Let it come out. Let it come out. So whether you're bawling or whatever, you got to find the right person. And we live in a society where people say, suck it up. Keep it inside. Trap it away. Yeah, look what happens. Look where we are. Purity does not mean trapping it away. Trapping it away is not creating a new wineskin to put new life into. People that say that are living, at chapter 6 in Genesis. But the flood doesn't come. Okay. Boy, I don't know if I'm all over the place, if I'm making any sense with that. There's a point where you have to be okay with it, and the measure of whether or not that's okay, if you can think to yourself, I'm comfortable enough with it that I can talk to somebody. You might have to use the higher awareness and do all that stuff until you're comfortable enough with the memory that you can talk to someone. Reason through that what is this person going to hear? What would they be like? What would it be like if they were telling you the same thing and you were listening to it? Go through all of those processes in your mind so that you're not just trapped into this one, oh my God, I just am afraid of this. So look at it from everybody's perspective until you go, oh, okay, I can do something with this. I can talk to somebody. And it's still going to be hard. You're going to talk to the right person, but it's hard to overcome that barrier. And of course, again, if the barrier is one that if you overcome your barrier, it causes greater hurt to somebody else, I don't want your life. Yeah, I wouldn't want to have to be in that position, honestly. I don't know how to speak to that one. At some point, people are on their own. You don't give advice. not to this. It affects the lives of human beings. You're looking for happiness. You're looking to come out the other side, and along the other way, you're coming through relationships that are not going to come with you. Now, if you're that's it. That's if you're doing what I'm doing. I talk about it in extreme terms. Obviously, if you're fine, everything is good, the family is good, you just got a thing or two here. That's much gentler than what I'm talking about. Mine was a very extreme path. So, and that was probably good because it helped me see the extent of the material, of how if I would trust it and engage with it, that it did do what it said it would do. But understanding it is difficult because we can do things today. We can create modern stories that would be metaphoric, that would teach us this stuff very simply. They're doing the same thing, I believe, except that it's verbiage 3,500 years old. They're speaking ways, they're using words in a different way. And these are analogous terms as well. It's not as simple as just reading it and not interpreting it. Honestly, if not interpreted, I don't like this. I don't like Genesis as a story. If it's not interpreted, if it's interpreted, it's freaking gorgeous. It's my life. That's the way I see it. Anyway, yeah, okay. So I get off the subject here. You have to understand that what you feel that you have inside of you that doesn't feel good has to be made to feel good, whatever that takes. Looking at it, examining it, getting outside, seeing it from a bigger picture. Maybe don't make any radical changes. Maybe just go, okay, yep, I know I just have to tell somebody and I can trust and I can do that. You feel elevated. When you overcome that barrier, you will feel like a big load just came off of you. That'll become normal. It won't stay that way. We become that. It is a new emotional set point for us, but we normalize to the way that feels. That's why we put up with what hurts us. We normalize to the way it feels. When you remove it, you'll feel uplifted. In the same way that it brought you down, you'll feel back up. You'll go back up. Again, though, it'll become a new set point. So the more you heal, the more you rise. That's what happens. The more anchors you have, the more anchors you have to cast off. And honestly, when New Age teachers are talking about raising your frequency and meditating and doing things like that, this is what they're not interpreting. This is right here raising your frequency, but you're not doing it in the manner that they're doing it. You're doing it by resolving these issues that you're bringing with you. They're not interpreting it to that level. They're keeping it at a very, just do this and feel good. Like The Secret, just do this and feel good. Nobody goes after the issues. This is the hard part. That's why it's buried so deep. Okay, there's one more comment, actually, that I want to address. I want to put it on here because it actually does dovetail in with this. We're talking about resolving. Resolving what? What do you need to resolve? And from another video and from another comment, this dovetails right into it. So let me see if I can. Okay, how many things do we need to resolve? Let's see if we can dial something in here. Let's explore this one. This is another teaching that let's learn it from the Tao and then go see where it is in Genesis. Oh, yeah. All right, this was from now Kent Applegate in reference to a comment that I had made. Naming is the origin of all particular things. That's what I say that comes from the Tao. That's us beginning to have memories. And he commented in some translations, the Victor Mayer, it's the Tao that can be named is the mother of the 10,000 things. All right, so I've got various translations here, and I'm going to read them all. Let me put them all together. The Tao that can be named is the mother of the 10,000 things. Naming is the origin of all particular things. Naming fragments the mysteries of life into 10,000 things and their manifestations. The named is the mother of 10,000 things. Heaven, the mother, is the creatrix of all things. The last one's not my favorite. Okay, do you see how they all sound different? And what I would tell people is that they're all fine. I think that I've got a number of different translations. The thing that Boy, I think if you want a Dhammapada, that's all you need right there. If you want to have the Tao Te Ching, Chinese did not do well making it into English. So as you read between translations, you can see right there in all of those right there, they were all the exact same verse from 5 different translators. I've had people tell me before that they try to direct you to just stick with one because it's more accurate. You know what? That's wrong. You want to average things out. People are doing the best they can to translate, and some do better than others. I've got one from a Lege. I don't like it at all. He tried to make it rhyme. So that was not, you really want to translate sticking as close as you can to the original verse. Don't try to flow things around. Okay, so what do we have here then? What is that? The 10,000 things, all things. This one just says, naming is the origin of all particular things. That one, to me, is the most complete. Why? Because it doesn't have a number. How many things? All. All particular things. 24,000, 10,000, doesn't matter. All. It could be less, could be more. It's all. Okay. So all is the most inclusive number in a case like that. What does it mean? Naming is the origin of all particular things or of all of those things. In the part of the template right here, what this denotes is what we're going to start making decisions about, our memories. Naming is the origin of all particular things. Judging life is the beginning of all of your memories. How does that sound? That's what it is. As soon as you start having life and you start having experiences and you start having memories and you start putting the memories and the emotional state of those memories, they're all created and they're all different. How many? 10,000, 24,000, all particular ones. How do we see that in Genesis? Let's go to the beginning of their templates and see what that sounds like. Okay, right off we have stepped into a different style. It's going to teach the same thing, but it's going to just sound differently. We know that already. So we have the Lord appeared to Abram and said, to your offspring I will give this land. What we have right here is the call of Abram, chapter 12. This is the beginning of this sequence of human life. And we're going to start off in a famine, but right here we have when the Lord appeared to Abram and said, to your offspring I will give this land. So that means that I am Abram, and the Lord is the higher awareness, and we're being told right here that everything that we're going to the land is our life experience. Our offspring are going to get there. Now, what I'm going to do is show you something else. I'm going to look for stars. If I come in here, there's the first one. In God's covenant with Abram, what we get down here is this. He brought him outside and said, look toward heaven and count the stars, if you are able to count them. Then he said, so shall your descendants be. 10,000. How many are there stars? That's how many there shall be. This is it. You see right here at 15, the covenant there. This is the beginning of the sequence. This grant that all of these, so your descendants, your offspring, whatever it is that you harbor as a part of your family, as your life existence, is going to be innumerable. If we jump down here to verse 17 in the command to sacrifice Isaac, we see the same thing after it's over. God is happy with him, and he says, I will indeed bless you, and will make your offspring as numerous as the stars of heaven, and as the sand that is on the seashore. 26, Isaac and Abimelech. I will make your offspring as numerous as the stars of heaven, and will give to your offspring all these lands. Every time you see these are sequence points on the template. Okay, it was those. Stars is said 5 times in here as well for anybody that follows up on that. There we go. Okay, you see how they're doing it differently. The offspring is many. That's my life. I am that person. I am that I am. Okay. So these are going to unfold in the most bizarre way, and I'm hooking into it more and more. I'm getting better at it. I know that doesn't go into the healing, but it lets you know, what do I have to resolve? Well, how numerous are the stars in the sky? What do you have to resolve? What's in there? What's life like? If life was generally good, but you've got guilt over something. Yeah, I'm a good person, but I remember one time I stole $100 out of Grandma's purse and I lied about it and I just feel guilty and she's, you can resolve that. If you're somebody that was, like, shut up, punk, little girl, get over here. You tell anybody. Yeah. What did you grow up like? There are times you might have a lot of offspring that need to be resolved. And a lot of times you might have a lot of offspring that are just fine. So it comes down to the idea that for each individual, you find what hurts you and you resolve it by going to the source of its, the point of origin, and rethinking and relooking at it and finding everything that's structured off of it and blowing it out and understanding that it somehow that you're a physical being emerging through a physical world with people that are probably having the same experiences on and on and on and on. And your objective is to rise above that. So you have to go, you know what? Not only am I okay with what happened, but if I can learn from it, I can be proud of what happened because I use it as my stepping stone. I strip off my clothes and put them under my feet and rise above them, and then I get my field back. Do you recognize that from the Gospel of Thomas? That's what this is. That's what this is. Going back to your past and all the pain and rethinking it so it's not there, to rise above it. Understanding how petty, no, it's not petty, but that it is very, that it's very of the physical world and that we want to rise above it. Yeah, well, anyway, okay. I'm going to leave it at that. I guess I go too far. Don't I? Thoughts, questions, comments. I'd love to hear them. Did I do an okay job explaining this? Do I need to explain anything better? I can do that. I'm trying to learn how to teach what I'm trying to figure. I'm not quite sure what the material is. You see what's happening here. It's a growth process. So I'm going to redo it and redo it and redo it and redo it. And it should get better every time. Okay. See you in the next video.